Bro, shut the up. Shut the up. Hey, man, what's up, bro? What's up? What you been on? What you doing with this? Hey, bro, push me. Back on up. Push me.
I don't want to be with him.
When I found my best friend's razor in my girlfriend's trash, what happened next destroyed 2 decades of trust. I was staring at a Gillette razor covered in someone else's hair sitting in my bathroom trash can. Knowing for certain that my girlfriend Carmen never used razors, she only used Nair hair removal cream. But this wasn't just any razor. The hair on it was coarse and dark, definitely from a man, and I recognized exactly whose facial hair it was. My best friend Amari's. You won't believe what happened when I confronted them both with hidden camera evidence that exposed a betrayal spanning months while I was working in the oil fields to support our life together. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell, because this story involves a best friend's ultimate betrayal, secret surveillance footage, and the kind of double deception that will make you question every relationship in your life. You're going to want to follow along for every devastating detail. My name is Byron Tutt. I'm 28 years old, and this story begins at what should have been one of the happiest periods of my life. But first, let me take you back to where it all started, at my buddy Marcus's birthday party in Houston, Texas. On a humid Saturday night in July 2021, I was standing around the backyard barbecue pit with my boys, drinking Lone Star beer and talking about work, when Marcus brought over this woman I'd never seen before. Byron, this is Carmen Santiago, Marcus said, grinning like he was introducing me to my future wife. Carmen, this is Byron, the one I was telling you about. Works his ass off and treats people right. Carmen was 25, about 5'6", with long dark hair and this smile that could light up the whole party. She worked as a credit repair specialist downtown, helping people fix their financial situations and improve their credit scores. When she talked about her work, she had this passion in her voice that made you believe she really cared about helping people rebuild their lives. Nice to meet you, Byron, she said, extending her hand for a handshake that was warm and confident. Marcus has told me a lot about you. All good things. I hope, I replied, trying to play it cool while my heart was beating like a drum. Mostly, she said with a teasing smile that made me laugh despite my nervousness. We talked for the next 4 hours. About everything, our jobs, our families, our dreams for the future. Carmen had grown up in Houston's East End, put herself through community college while working 2 jobs, and had built a successful career helping people escape financial nightmares. What about you? She asked as we sat on Marcus's back porch, away from the noise of the party. What do you do? Right now I'm flipping burgers at Whataburger, I said, feeling slightly embarrassed about my job compared to her professional career. But I'm working nights so I can have my days free to spend time with people I care about. There's nothing wrong with honest work, she said seriously. And the fact that you're working nights shows you're willing to sacrifice your own comfort for other priorities. That says a lot about your character. That night, lying in my apartment on the south side of Houston, I got her text at 11:30 p.m. Had a great time talking with you tonight. Marcus was right. You are someone special. Maybe we can continue our conversation over coffee sometime? Carmen. Our first official date was Sunday, July 18th, 2021. I picked her up at her apartment complex on Westheimer Road at exactly 2 p.m. She lived in one of those newer developments with a pool and fitness center. The kind of place that said she had her life together. You look nervous, she said when she got in my 2019 Honda Civic. A little bit, I admitted. It's been a while since I've taken someone like you on a date. Someone like me? Smart. Successful. Way out of my league. She laughed, that genuine laugh that would become one of my favorite sounds in the world. Byron. I said yes to this date because I'm interested in getting to know you better. Don't worry about leagues. Just be yourself. We went to Discovery Green downtown and walked around the park for 3 hours, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about her dreams of starting her own financial consulting business, how she wanted to help people not just fix their credit, but build real wealth for their families. What about you? She asked as we sat by the lake, watching families enjoy their Sunday afternoon. What do you really want to do with your life? Honestly, I want to get into the oil field. The money's good, and I could support a family properly. Maybe buy a house with a yard. Build something real. That sounds like a plan, she said. When are you going to make the transition? Soon. I hope. I've got a buddy who works offshore. He says they're always looking for hard workers who can handle the schedule. For the first 2 years, our relationship was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Carmen was supportive, loving, and understood that my work at Whataburger wasn't my final destination. When I worked the night shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., she'd text me encouraging messages throughout my shift. Hope your night is going well. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Only 3 more hours until you're off. You're doing great. Baby. Thinking about you. Drive safe coming home. Those messages got me through the hardest nights. Knowing someone was thinking about me. Caring about my well-being. By December 2021, we were spending most of our free time together. Carmen would come over to my place after I got off work in the mornings, and we'd have breakfast together before she went to her job. On weekends, we'd explore Houston together, museums, food festivals, Astros games when we could afford tickets. I love how you make me see the city differently. She told me one evening as we walked through the Heights after dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurant I'd discovered. What do you mean? Before you, I just went to work, came home, watched Netflix, and repeated the cycle. You make everything feel like an adventure. In March 2022, after we'd been together for 8 months, Carmen started hinting that she wanted to take the next step in our relationship. My lease is up in June. She mentioned casually while we were cooking dinner at my place. I've been thinking about what I want to do next. What are your options? Well, I could renew where I am. Or, she paused, giving me a meaningful look. I could find a different living situation, maybe with someone I care about. The hint was clear, and I was ready for it. By April 2022, we'd found a 2-bedroom apartment in the Montrose area for $1,800 a month. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. I can't believe we're doing this, Carmen said as we signed the lease on April 20th, 2022. Having second thoughts? I asked, suddenly worried. No, she said, squeezing my hand. I'm excited. This feels like the start of something real. Moving in together in May 2022 was the happiest time of my life. We created routines that felt like the foundation of a real partnership. I'd get home from work in the mornings around 7:30 a.m., and Carmen would already be up getting ready for her job. We'd have coffee together before she left, and I'd sleep until early afternoon. When I woke up around 2 p.m., I'd clean the apartment, run errands, maybe work out at the community center. Carmen would get home around 6 p.m., and we'd cook dinner together, watch TV, and spend our evenings planning our future. I talked to my buddy Jake about the oil field job. I told her one evening in late July 2022, he thinks he can get me an interview with his company. It's offshore work, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But the money is incredible. How much are we talking about? Carmen asked, her eyes lighting up with interest. Starting pay is $4,200 every 2 weeks. That's over $100,000 a year. We could save for a house. Start planning for the future properly. That's amazing. Byron, when would you start? If I get the job, probably September. Are you okay with me being gone for 2 weeks at a time? Carmen considered this seriously. It'll be an adjustment, but if it means building our future together, I can handle it. I got the job offer on August 15th, 2022. Offshore oil rig work with Patterson Energy Services. Starting September 1st. The schedule was exactly what Jake had described. 2 weeks on the rig, 2 weeks off at home. The pay was $4,200 every 2 weeks, plus overtime opportunities. We're going to be able to save so much money, Carmen said when I told her the news. Maybe we can start looking at houses next year. That's the plan. Baby, this job is going to change our lives. My first rotation started on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. The goodbye at the apartment was emotional. Our first real separation since moving in together. I'm going to miss you so much, Carmen said, hugging me tight. It's only 2 weeks. And think about what this means for us long term. I know. I'm proud of you for taking this step. The offshore rig work was exactly as challenging as Jake had warned me. 12-hour shifts in all kinds of weather. Physical labor that left me exhausted, and sleeping in cramped quarters with 15 other guys. But the money was real. And every day I thought about what this would mean for Carmen and me. I called her every night during my break time, usually around 8 p.m. Central Time. How was your day? Baby? She'd ask. And I'd tell her about the rig work, the guys I was working with, how many more days until I'd be home. How was your day? I'd ask. And she'd tell me about her clients, her coworkers, what she'd watched on Netflix. Those nightly phone calls kept me sane during those first 2 weeks. Hearing her voice, knowing she was waiting for me at home, made all the hard work worth it. When I came home on September 15th, 2022. After my first rotation, Carmen was at the apartment waiting for me with my favorite dinner cooked and the place cleaned spotless. "Welcome home, baby," she said, jumping into my arms the moment I walked through the door. For the first few months, the offshore schedule worked perfectly for us. When I was home for 2 weeks, we spent every possible moment together. We'd go out to nice restaurants with my offshore money, take weekend trips to Austin or San Antonio, and start seriously looking at houses in different neighborhoods. I found a really nice 3-bedroom in Katy. Carmen said one evening in November 2022, showing me listings on her laptop. "It's $285,000, but with your income, we could definitely qualify for a mortgage. Let's go look at it this weekend." I said, "I want to start building something permanent with you." But something started changing around December 2022, subtle at first, then more obvious as the weeks went by. The first sign was Carmen's attitude when I came home from rotations. Instead of the enthusiastic welcome I'd gotten used to, she seemed distracted, almost annoyed by my presence. "How was your rotation?" she'd ask. But her tone was flat, like she was asking out of obligation rather than genuine interest. "Good, baby. Made some good overtime this rotation. How were your 2 weeks?" "Fine. Boring. The usual." But when I'd try to get details, what she'd done, who she'd spent time with, how work was going, her answers became increasingly vague. "Just worked. Came home. Watched TV. Nothing exciting." The second sign was her appearance. During my rotations in September, October, and November, Carmen had dressed normally for work and casual clothes at home. Starting in December, she began putting more effort into her appearance, even when I wasn't there. "Just worked. Came home. Watched TV. Nothing exciting." But when I'd try to get details, what she'd done, who she'd spent time with, how work was going, her answers became increasingly vague. "You look nice," I said when I came home from my December rotation to find her in a new dress and full makeup. For me, Byron, a woman can dress nicely for herself, can't she? The third sign was her social life. For the entire time I'd known her, Carmen's social circle was small, a few coworkers, some college friends she kept in touch with occasionally. When I was home, we spent most of our time together. When I was offshore, she'd told me she mostly stayed home, caught up on shows, and used the time to recharge. But starting in January 2023, her stories about what she did during my rotations began, including more social activities. I went out for drinks with some girls from work. She'd mentioned casually, "Which girls? I don't think I've met them. Just some new people. We don't really hang out when you're home because I want to spend that time with you." The fourth and most obvious sign was her phone behavior. Carmen had never been secretive about her phone. She'd answer texts in front of me, leave it lying around, even ask me to check messages for her when she was driving. Starting in February 2023, that changed completely. Her phone became attached to her hip. She'd take it with her to the bathroom, keep it face down when we were together. And if it buzzed with notifications, she'd quickly glance at it and then put it away without responding. "Who was that?" I'd ask when her phone would buzz during dinner. "Just work stuff," she'd say, not even looking at the message. But work emails don't usually come with text message notification sounds, and they don't make someone smile the way Carmen was smiling when she read whatever was on her screen. The breaking point came during my February 2023 rotation. I was offshore, working a particularly difficult shift, when I called Carmen at our usual time, 8 p.m. on Wednesday. February 15th, she didn't answer. I tried again at 8:30 p.m. No answer. At 9 p.m. I tried one more time. Still nothing. Finally, at 9:45 p.m., my phone rang. "Hey, baby. Sorry I missed your calls," Carmen said, but she sounded breathless, like she'd been running. "Where were you?" I called 3 times. I was in the shower. Really long day at work. So I was just relaxing. But something about her voice sounded off. And in the background, I could swear I heard a man's voice, though it was too quiet to make out what was being said. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" It sounded like someone else was there. "Byron, it's just me. You're being paranoid." Maybe it was the TV, but I hadn't heard TV sounds. I'd heard a voice. A man's voice. That night, lying in my bunk on the oil rig, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Really wrong. When I came home from that rotation on March 1st, 2023, I started paying closer attention to details around our apartment. That's when I found the razor. I was taking out the bathroom trash on my second day home when I saw it. A Gillette razor sitting right on top of the garbage. Not buried under other trash. Not hidden. Just sitting there like someone had used it recently and thrown it away. The problem was, Carmen never used razors. Ever. Since the day I met her, she'd always used Nair hair removal cream. She'd told me multiple times that razors irritated her skin, so she'd switched to chemical hair removal years ago. But this wasn't just any razor. It had hair on it. Coarse, dark hair that definitely wasn't from Carmen's legs or underarms. This was facial hair. A man's facial hair. I picked up the razor and examined it closely. The hair pattern, the thickness, the color, I recognized it. I'd seen this exact type of facial hair hundreds of times over the past 5 years. It was my best friend Amari's hair. Amari Davis had been my best friend since high school. We'd grown up together in Houston's 3rd Ward, played football together, chased girls together, and had each other's backs through every major moment of our lives. When I started dating Carmen, Amari had been supportive and encouraging. She seems like a good one. Man, he'd said after meeting her for the first time, don't mess this up. Amari was one of the few people who had a key to our apartment. I'd given it to him months earlier so he could check on the place when both Carmen and I were out of town. He was supposed to be someone I could trust completely, holding that razor, with his hair still attached to the blades. I felt something die inside my chest. I didn't confront Carmen immediately. Instead, I decided to test her. Carmen, I said, walking into our living room with the razor in my hand. What is this? She looked up from her phone, which she immediately turned face down, and stared at the razor like she'd never seen it before in her life. It's a razor. Byron, what do you think it is? She looked up from her phone, which she immediately turned face down, and stared at the razor like she'd never seen it before in her life. Her face went through several expressions quickly. Surprise. Confusion. Then something that looked like panic. Well, you haven't been here, she said finally. Maybe I decided to try something different. Maybe I changed my routine. You changed your routine? Yeah. Maybe I got tired of waiting for you to be here to help me with things. Maybe I decided to just handle my own business. But her explanation didn't make sense. The hair on the razor wasn't from legs or underarms. It was clearly facial hair. And Carmen didn't have facial hair that coarse or dark. Carmen, this is a man's razor. This is facial hair. Whose razor is this? I don't know. Byron, maybe it was there from before we moved in. Maybe the previous tenant left it, but we'd been living there for 10 months. No razor sits in a bathroom for 10 months without being discovered. That night, while Carmen was asleep, I made a decision that would change everything. I called a number I'd seen advertised on late-night TV, Cheaters Investigation Services. The voice answered, "This is Detective Martinez. How can we help you?" "I think my girlfriend is cheating on me," I said quietly, standing in our bathroom at 2 a.m. "And I think it's with my best friend. Tell me about the situation." "Sir," I spent 30 minutes detailing everything, the behavior changes, the mysterious razor, the phone call where I'd heard a man's voice, the increasing secrecy and distance. Based on what you're describing, Mr. Tut, there are definitely indicators that warrant professional investigation. Are you prepared for what we might discover? I need to know the truth. Whatever it is, our comprehensive investigation package includes surveillance, evidence, documentation, and confrontation assistance if necessary. The cost is $3,500 for a week-long investigation. Does that work for your budget? $3,500 was more than half of one rotation's pay. But I didn't hesitate. Yes. When can you start? We can begin surveillance tomorrow. But first, I need to ask, do you have legal access to your shared residence for recording equipment installation? It's our apartment. Both our names are on the lease. Excellent. That gives us more investigative options. I'll send a team over tomorrow morning while you're both at work to install some basic surveillance equipment. The next day, March 3rd, 2023, while I was at my onshore job between rotations and Carmen was at her office, a team of 3 investigators came to our apartment. In 90 minutes, they installed hidden cameras in our living room, bedroom, kitchen, and entryway. The cameras are motion activated and streamed directly to our secure servers. Detective Martinez explained when I met him that evening, "You'll have access to a live feed through a password-protected app, but I strongly recommend you avoid watching in real time unless you're emotionally prepared for immediate impact." I understand. The external surveillance begins Monday when you leave for your next rotation. We'll have agents positioned to monitor Ms. Santiago's activities when she believes she's unobserved. My next rotation started Monday, March 6th, 2023. As I hugged Carmen goodbye at 5 a.m., I felt like I was saying goodbye to more than just 2 weeks of time together. "I'll miss you," she said, but her hug felt perfunctory, like she was going through the motions. "I'll miss you too. Baby, I'll call you tonight." On Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, at 2:30 p.m., while I was working on the oil rig, Detective Martinez called with the first update. "Mr. Tut, we have eyes on your girlfriend. She left work early today, claiming a family emergency. But instead of going home, she drove to a sports bar called Champions on Westheimer Road. She's not alone." My hands started shaking. "Who's she with?" "Male. Approximately 6'2", African American, athletic build. Drives a 2020 Dodge Challenger. Does that description match anyone you know?" It matched Amari perfectly. "Down to the car." "Yes," I said quietly. "That's my best friend." "I'm sorry, sir. They're currently sitting in a booth together. Very close proximity. Sharing drinks. The body language suggests this isn't a casual friendship meeting." I couldn't concentrate on work for the rest of my shift. At 8 p.m., I called Carmen for our usual check-in. "Hey, baby," she answered, her voice bright and cheerful. "How was your day?" "Long day. Rough weather out here." "How was yours?" "Oh, you know, same old boring office stuff. I just got home a little while ago. Made some dinner, and now I'm watching Netflix." "What are you watching?" "Some romantic comedy I've seen before. Nothing exciting." She was lying to my face with such ease that it took my breath away. According to the investigators, she'd spent 4 hours at a sports bar with my best friend, and now she was telling me she'd just gotten home from her boring day at the office. "What did you have for dinner?" "Just a salad. I wasn't very hungry." According to Detective Martinez's report, she and Amari had shared nachos, chicken wings, and several rounds of drinks. She'd eaten plenty. Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, brought even more devastating evidence. At 6:45 p.m., while I was offshore and supposed to be having our nightly call, Detective Martinez contacted me with an urgent update. "Mr. Tut, your best friend just arrived at your apartment. He used a key to let himself in. Ms. Santiago was waiting for him." A key. My key. The one I'd given him for emergencies. So he could check on our place when we were both out of town. He was using it to enter my home while I was working to support the life Carmen and I were building together. What are they doing? The internal cameras show them embracing immediately upon his entry. This is not a friendly hug. "Sir, they're kissing." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. "Are you recording this?" "Everything is being documented. Video, audio, timestamps. We have comprehensive evidence. I need to see it." "Sir, I strongly recommend waiting until I need to see it now." That night, during my break, I accessed the surveillance app on my phone. What I saw destroyed any remaining hope I had about the innocence of their relationship. Amari had arrived at our apartment at 6:45 p.m. Carmen opened the door wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something low-cut and tight that she'd never worn for me. The moment he stepped inside, they were in each other's arms. This wasn't a friendly greeting between people who happened to know each other through me. This was the reunion of two people who were intimately involved with each other. They spent 15 minutes on our couch, the couch where Carmen and I watched movies together every night when I was home. But they weren't watching movies. They were making out like teenagers, touching each other in ways that made it clear this wasn't their first time being physical together. At 7:30 p.m., Carmen led Amari upstairs to our bedroom. The bed where Carmen and I slept together. Made love. Planned our future. I couldn't watch anymore. I closed the app and spent the rest of my shift in a rage so intense I could barely function. At 8 p.m., right on schedule, my phone rang with Carmen's call. "Hey, baby," she said, her voice bright and happy. "How was your day?" "Fine. I managed. How was yours?" "Boring day at the office. I came straight home. Had some dinner, and I'm just relaxing now. Watching TV." While she was talking to me, I could see through the app that Amari was still there, still in our bedroom, still with my girlfriend while she lied to my face about being alone. "What are you watching?" "Some crime show. Nothing interesting." "Are you alone?" There was a pause, just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. "Of course I'm alone. Byron. Who else would be here?" "I don't know. Just asking." You sound weird. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just tired. Thursday, March 9th, 2023, was the day I learned the full scope of their relationship. Detective Martinez called me at 3 p.m. with an update that made everything crystal clear. Mr. Tut, we've been monitoring their text message communications through legal surveillance methods. This isn't a recent development. Based on their conversation history, they've been involved for at least 4 months. 4 months. Since November 2022, almost my entire time working offshore. What kind of messages? Intimate messages, planning meetings, discussions about how to handle what they call the Byron situation. They're not just physically involved, they're emotionally involved. This is a full relationship. A full relationship. While I was working 2 weeks at a time in dangerous conditions to build a future with Carmen, she was building a future with my best friend. There's more. Detective Martinez continued. They've been using your apartment as their primary meeting place during your rotations. Our cameras show them spending entire nights there together. They're living as a couple in your home while you're paying all the bills. How often? Every rotation. The moment you leave for offshore work, he moves in. He has clothes there, toiletries, even keeps food in your refrigerator. Mr. Tut, I'm sorry to tell you this, but they're essentially living together while using your income to support their lifestyle. That afternoon, while I was supposed to be focusing on a dangerous equipment repair, I accessed the surveillance footage from the previous night. What I saw was worse than anything I could have imagined. Amari hadn't just visited our apartment. He'd spent the night. They'd cooked dinner together in our kitchen, using food I'd paid for. They'd showered together in our bathroom. They'd slept together in our bed. They were playing house while I was offshore, working in dangerous conditions to pay for the apartment where they were building their relationship. Thursday night, when Carmen called for our usual check-in, I could barely speak. You sound really tired tonight, she said. Rough day? Yeah, rough day. Well, only a few more days and you'll be home. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see me. After spending the last 3 days living with my best friend in our apartment, Friday, March 10th, 2023, was my last day of that rotation. It was also the day I decided to end the investigation and plan the confrontation. Detective Martinez, I said when I called him Friday morning, I've seen enough. I want to confront them both. Sir, we can arrange that. When do you want to do this? Tomorrow. When I get home, I want them to be caught in the act, and I want it all on camera. We can coordinate that. Are you emotionally prepared for this confrontation? I've been emotionally prepared since I found that razor. Saturday, March 11th, 2023. I came home from my rotation one day early. Instead of arriving Sunday evening as scheduled, I caught a helicopter ride to shore Saturday afternoon and drove home. I texted Carmen that I was still offshore and wouldn't be home until Sunday night. This gave her no reason to expect me or to warn Amari that I was coming. At 4 p.m., I parked 2 blocks away from our apartment and called Detective Martinez. I'm in position, I said. We have eyes on your apartment. Mr. Pro, Davis's vehicle is in the parking lot. They're both inside. What are they doing? Living like a couple. Sir, making lunch together. Watching TV on your couch. They're completely comfortable and unsuspecting. I'm going in. We'll have camera crews positioned to document everything. Remember, stay calm and let the evidence speak for itself. At 4:30 p.m., I used my key to open the door to my own apartment. The sight that greeted me will haunt me for the rest of my life. Carmen and Amari were on our couch, her head on his shoulder, watching a movie together like they owned the place. They were both in casual clothes, Amari wearing one of my shirts that I'd left behind, Carmen wearing a robe I'd bought her for Christmas. They were so comfortable, so relaxed, that it took them several seconds to register that I was standing in the doorway. When they finally saw me, the looks on their faces were priceless. Pure shock, followed immediately by panic, followed by the desperate scrambling of people who'd been caught doing something they knew was wrong. Carmen jumped away from Amari so fast she knocked over a glass of wine, sending red liquid spilling across our white couch. Amari tried to stand up but seemed frozen, like his brain couldn't process what was happening. Byron, Carmen stammered, her voice an octave higher than normal. What are you doing here? You said you wouldn't be home until tomorrow. I caught an early ride, I said, walking into our living room with the camera crew behind me. Good thing. 2. Looks like I would have missed the party. Amari finally found his voice. Byron. Man, I can explain. Explain what? Amari? Explain why you're wearing my shirt in my apartment while I'm offshore working to pay the rent? Explain why you're cuddled up on my couch with my girlfriend? Explain why there's wine spilled everywhere like you've been living here? I pulled out my tablet and started playing the surveillance footage. 3 days of evidence showing them living together in our apartment while I worked offshore. This is from Wednesday, I said, showing them footage of their intimate dinner. This is Thursday. I continued, showing them in our bedroom. And this is last night, when Carmen told me she was home alone watching TV. Both of them stared at the screen in horror as the evidence of their betrayal played out in high definition. How long has this been going on? I asked. Neither of them answered. They just watched themselves being exposed on camera. Let me help you out, I said. According to the investigation, you've been sleeping together for at least 4 months. You've been using our apartment as your love nest every time I go offshore. Amari, you've been using the key I gave you for emergencies to move into my home while I'm working to pay for it. Byron, it's not what it looks like, Carmen said weakly. It's not what it looks like? I have video footage of you two living together as a couple in my apartment while I'm working offshore. What exactly does it look like to you? I played more footage, them showering together, sleeping in our bed, cooking breakfast in our kitchen like they were married. How does it feel? Carmen, to lie to my face every night when I call you from the rig? How does it feel to tell me you're home alone when you're actually playing house with my best friend? Tears were streaming down her face now. Byron, I never meant for this to happen. You never meant for it to happen? You've been planning this for months. You've been using the apartment I pay for as your secret love nest while I work dangerous jobs to support our future. I turned to Amari. And you, 5 years of friendship. I trusted you with a key to my home. I trusted you with knowledge of my work schedule. I trusted you around my girlfriend. How long have you been planning to steal my life? Amari looked down at his hands. It just happened. Man. We didn't plan it. You didn't plan it? You've been moving into my apartment every time I leave for work. You have clothes here. Food here. Toiletries here. You're living off my offshore salary while screwing my girlfriend in my bed. I showed them more evidence. Text message records showing their planning. Credit card records showing who was paying for what. Timeline analysis showing their pattern of behavior. I work 12-hour shifts in dangerous weather conditions so Carmen and I can save money for a house. I said, and the whole time, you two have been using that money to fund your relationship. The room was silent except for the sound of Carmen crying and the surveillance equipment recording every moment. I want you both out, I said finally. Tonight. Take whatever you can carry and leave. Byron. Please, Carmen begged. Can we talk about this rationally? Rationally? You want to talk rationally? You've been cheating on me with my best friend for 4 months while I pay all your bills? There's nothing rational to discuss. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. I don't care. Figure it out. You've been planning this relationship for months. You must have discussed where you're going to live when you leave me. I turned to Amari. Give me my key back. Now. With shaking hands. He pulled my apartment key off his keychain and handed it to me. Byron, I'm sorry. Man, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did hurt me. Every day, for 4 months. Every time you used my key to enter my home. Every time you slept in my bed. Every time you helped Carmen lie to me when I called from the rig. The confrontation lasted another 2 hours. Both of them tried to justify their actions. Blame the situation on my work schedule. Claim they'd fallen in love and couldn't help themselves. But I was done listening to excuses. By 8 p.m., they'd packed their essential belongings and left together in Amari's car. 2 years of my life with Carmen. 5 years of friendship with Amari. Reduced to garbage bags and boxes. The immediate aftermath was swift and devastating for both of them. Within a week, word of their affair had spread through our entire social circle. The Cheaters episode was scheduled to air 6 weeks later, and everyone who knew us had heard about the surveillance footage. Carmen's professional reputation suffered when her coworkers learned about the circumstances of her personal life. Her supervisor called her in for a discussion about conduct that reflects poorly on the company's professional standards. Several clients have expressed concerns about trust and integrity after hearing about your situation. Her supervisor explained, "We're going to need to discuss whether this position is still the right fit." By the end of March 2023, Carmen had been quietly pushed out of her job. Her new relationship with Amari became the subject of workplace gossip, and clients started requesting different representatives. Amari's situation was even more complicated. He was married, something I learned only after the confrontation. His wife, Keisha, had been completely unaware of his affair with Carmen. When she saw the surveillance footage, she filed for divorce immediately. 8 years of marriage. Keisha told the Cheaters producers during a follow-up interview. 2 kids, a house, a life we built together. And he threw it all away for his best friend's girlfriend. The divorce was brutal. Keisha's attorney used the Cheaters' evidence to argue that Amari was an unfit father due to his pattern of deception and betrayal. He lost primary custody of his children and was ordered to pay significant alimony and child support. 8 years of marriage. Keisha told the Cheaters producers during a follow-up interview. 2 kids, a house, a life we built together. And he threw it all away for his best friend's girlfriend. By May 2023, both Carmen and Amari had lost their jobs, their families, and their reputations. The relationship they'd destroyed everything for lasted exactly 3 months after they moved in together. The stress of their public humiliation, financial problems, and family destruction created constant tension between them. Carmen resented losing her career and professional standing. Amari resented losing his children and his marriage. They broke up in June 2023, each blaming the other for the consequences of their choices. As for me, the experience was devastating but ultimately transformative. I used the evidence from the investigation to protect myself legally and financially. When Carmen tried to claim half of our shared belongings and demand that I continue paying rent until she found a new place, I had video proof that she'd been planning to leave me for months while using our apartment for her affair. I moved out of our shared apartment and found a smaller place closer to the oil rig departure point. A place with no memories of betrayal or deception. Most importantly, I learned about trust and friendship. I learned that the people closest to you can be the ones who hurt you the most. I learned that work success means nothing if the people you're working for don't respect or appreciate your sacrifice. I also learned about red flags I'd ignored. The phone secrecy, the appearance changes, the mysterious social activities, the attitude shifts when I came home from rotations. All signs that something was wrong. But I'd chosen to trust instead of investigate. 6 months after the confrontation, I met Sandra Martinez, a nurse who worked at the medical clinic where offshore workers get their pre-deployment physicals. Our first conversation was about honesty and what we both needed from relationships. I need complete transparency. I told her during our second coffee date, no secret friendships, no mysterious activities, no lies about where you're going or who you're with. That seems reasonable, she said. What happened to make you feel that way? I told her the whole story. The hidden cameras, the surveillance, the months of deception by both my girlfriend and my best friend. Instead of being scared off, she appreciated my honesty about my past and my standards for the future. I'd rather date someone who's been hurt and learned from it than someone who's naive about what people are capable of, she said. Sandra and I have been together for 9 months now. She answers her phone when it rings, introduces me to her friends, tells me where she's going, and invites me to join her activities. She treats our relationship like a partnership instead of a convenience. The most important lesson I learned isn't about cheating or betrayal. It's about self-worth and standards. I learned that I deserve someone who chooses me consistently, not someone who uses me as financial security while exploring other options. I learned that friendship means loyalty, and love means honesty. Without those foundations, relationships are just convenient arrangements that fall apart under pressure. I learned that when multiple red flags appear in your relationship, it's not paranoia to investigate. It's self-protection. The $3,500 I spent on that investigation was the best money I ever invested in my future happiness and peace of mind. If you're watching this and recognizing red flags in your own relationship, the secrecy, the attitude changes, the mysterious activities, the feeling that something is off, trust your instincts. Don't let anyone convince you that you're being paranoid when you're simply paying attention to patterns. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is hire the investigators. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is install the cameras. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is discovering the truth, no matter how much it hurts initially. The pain of discovery is temporary. The pain of living in deception and betrayal lasts forever. If you enjoyed this story and it helped you recognize warning signs in your own relationships, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more true stories about infidelity, investigation, and finding the courage to demand the honesty you deserve. Share your experiences in the comments. You never know who might need to hear that their gut feelings are valid and their standards matter. Remember, you are worth more than lies, secret relationships, and having your trust violated by the people closest to you. You deserve friends who respect your relationships and partners who choose you every single day, not just when it's convenient. Trust your instincts, protect your investments, and never be afraid to investigate when something doesn't feel right. The truth will set you free, even when it hurts.